Hello, everybody. Welcome to Promoter's first official video on our YouTube channel. I appreciate you joining. If you like, please subscribe to the channel and like the video and leave comments below. But I want to talk about one of my favorite things today that most people just don't realize or think about, and I call it the GOAT Dissolution Effect, which is really exemplifying the power of saying no. But what it really means tactically is I'm going to give you a moment to think about this question, but what greatest of all time person at any given activity do you know that is also the greatest of all time at anything? Okay. I'm assuming you didn't come up with any. I'm assuming if you continue to think you won't come up with any because it's virtually impossible. Reason for that is because to be the greatest of all time at something, you have to dedicate everything to it. So you have to decide on the spectrum of not good to greatest of all time, where you want to fall, not just within your life outcomes, but your overall activities in life and goals in life. Like, because you're not just going to be all in on one thing unless you do want to be the greatest of all time. Most people are not going to fall in this category. And if you are in that category, then you probably don't need to listen to me. You probably need to listen to somebody that is better in your particular field. But most human beings are going to want to have multiple facets within their life. They might want to be a good husband or a good wife, a good father or a good mother, a good career professional, a good tennis player, a good snowboarder, a good mountain biker, a good dog person. You name it. They're going to want multiple things in their life that they are going to be excelling at, or at the very least, good at. And so what this means is the more that you add to your life in terms of the quantity of those activities that you want to have an escalated or elevated skill level at, the worse you are going to be at them. You are creating a ceiling because just like everybody else, you only have so much time in the day, so much energy to dedicate to each individual thing. So you inherently cannot be the greatest of all time at anything. And the way I kind of look at this is you want to be the GOAT of something, that's your one thing. It's literally one thing at the expense of everything else. It's that simple. Now, if you jump that up to maybe three things or five things, which is probably where most people fall, again, if you look at a very average, typical lifestyle, you are going to look at your job, your family, whether that's probably going to consist of both partner and parent figure. So there's two or three. You're also going to want to be a good friend. You're going to want to be a good person for the people around you. And then that kind of leads you one additional wild card. So you can have one hobby or thing in your life that you are also good at. Again, whether that's something outdoors, whether that's an artistic adventure, does not matter. So there's your five. If you dedicate all of your time into all five of those things, obviously some are going to be mandated more than others, especially work, depending on if you're an entrepreneur or not, can make your own schedule. But inevitably, you're going to be able to be great at those things. You're not going to be the greatest of all time, but you can be pretty great at those things. That's all you have. As you begin to add things, you go from great to good, okay, mediocre, average, below average, so on and so forth. And so what I have tried to do with my clients, especially the high achieving ones or the highly driven ones, the people that really want to push the envelope in their life in order to achieve results, in order to have the option to retire at a very early stage, these sorts of things, then you have to narrow your scope. You have to put all of your processing power into just a select few things. And this is going to be incredibly difficult, and especially if you're on the younger spectrum. I think the younger spectrum should be and what I mean by here is younger age, right? So if you are in that 15 to 25 or even 15 to 30 kind of years old, you really should be balancing both experimentation and trying to be great at something. And so I think that the efforts of being great should be going into yourself. It should be testing your limits, figuring out what you are. I was just having this conversation with my nephew last night, actually, where we were talking about figuring out what your red line is. Discover your red line as early in life as possible, because you won't be able to necessarily sustain your red line forever, hence the point of red line. But if you are eating well, exercising, and taking care of yourself, you should be able to sustain about 90% of your red line, especially when you're young, right? You're made of magic and duct tape and rubber. Like you can recover from anything. So early on, discover what your red line is in terms of your level of effort, I literally told him, when it comes to physical, push yourself to the point of exhaustion to puking. Mental, push yourself to the point to where you just have to pass out and go to sleep. Emotional, push yourself to the point to where to figure out what your emotional control limits are. And then here's the thing. If you continue to stay at that 90% threshold, then it's only going to increase over time. Because that's going to become 80% and then 70% and then 60% and 50% because your bandwidth and your tools and your life experience are getting greater. So then you can go, oh, wow, this is easy for me now. Let me figure out what my new limit is. And you're used to testing your limits to keep yourself at that 90% threshold for 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then you look back and you're way ahead of everybody else. So when you're very young, figuring out what your limits are so that you know the maximum effort and time and energy that you can invest into things. You also want to balance the experimentation. And I would actually make being experimental and being adaptable to your experiments, I would almost make that one of the great skills you were trying to develop. Adaptability is going to serve you the rest of your life because technology is only evolving. The workforce is only evolving. Family, law, government, friends, etc. Everything is only evolving. So the more adaptability you have, the better. So it is very crucial to train that early on. But what the experimentation will do is it will give you the answers of, okay, here's the 3 things I want to invest time into, or the 1 thing, or the 5 things, or the 10 things. Because you tried so many things, because you have so much experiential or experimental turnover, you can figure it out what it is that you want to invest all that time, effort, and energy into. And then, boom, now we get into more of the next step of structure, how to, what's next, but discovery phase is completed. And that's usually the hard part that most people overlook is they just either take the giant leap and are like, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. I'll give you my own story. I once left my job to start a YouTube channel 6 years ago. Didn't happen. This is the first time I'm recording YouTube videos. Luckily I was much younger then. I could make that mistake. Actually, that was greater than 6 years ago. That might have been 7 or 8. But I was just so gung-ho that I didn't even give it a shot. I just said, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to do this. And then never did it. And then ended up back in the workforce not that much longer. So this definitely answers the question of what to do, what to invest your time in, do the experiments, figure it out, and then you can create that narrow band. And the sooner you can do this, the better. And that's also why I start my age range at 15, right? I don't start it at 18 or 22 or 24 or 26, kind of depending on, kind of the common different ages of graduation for education throughout the spectrum. But start it early. Do it as soon as you can. As soon as you are eligible to work, I think that's around the age that you should be thinking about these things, especially when it comes to the fact that you're going to make a 6-figure, unless you're doing an in-state college or have scholarships or grants or these sorts of things. I think the average debt is close to 6 figures for going to college. So you're going to make a 6-figure decision with interest accruing at least over the next 4 to 5 years while you make that go through the education process. So figure out what the hell you want to do it in. And this does work for people beyond this age as well. That I'm just presenting to you the ideal. And so, and a lot of my clients are well past that age of 15. And what we try to do is give them a questionnaire, take personality tests, and really ask yourself the question, dive deep, one-on-one conversations. And you can do this either with yourself, you can do it with a spouse, with your best friend, with somebody in your life. You are trying to have conversations to figure out where it is that you should invest your efforts. And some simple questions to ask other people are, hey, what do you see that I'm good at? Or what skill do you think I have that you don't know anybody else that has the same skill or isn't as good as I am at that thing? Recognize the pattern of what do people continually come to you for? That's actually what got me into this coaching and resume business, was between colleagues and friends and people in my network. I noticed from a very young age, I didn't notice this until years and years later, but for about 7 or 8 years, I just had people continually coming to me. Hey, I'm not getting job applications, or I'm not getting interview responses, or hey, I keep failing at the interview. Even my best friend of all time called me and was like, hey, I have this other opportunity. How do I negotiate and kind of come out with the best offer on top? How do I handle this? This is the type of stuff that people were calling me for on a regular basis. And at the same time, it was so rewarding. And because For me, it was something I didn't expect to necessarily be good at, but it's literally putting food on people's table. It's feeding their family. It's progressing their career, helping them achieve their dreams. And hopefully that same thing can happen to you. So a lot of this discovery phase and how to approach it and how to defeat the GOAT dissolution effect, as I call it, is first is recognize that unless you're going to pick one thing, you will not be the GOAT. It is that simple. Accept that. That's okay. Not a big deal. Now understand that you have to figure out how many things you're going to invest time into. And the more that you choose on that, then the lower your ceiling becomes. And it lowers very quickly when you really, really boil down and look at the amount of time you have per day, what you have to do. I mean, if you are sleeping healthily, you're awake somewhere between 16, 18 hours a day, which then means that you are having to cook food, probably do some form of work regardless, whether it's your passion at work and something that's falling in this great category, or if it's just something that you're doing for the time being. If you have family, if you have friends, then you have a little bit of time there. But I mean, you're talking on the low end, you probably have 2 hours taken out in terms of just, if you don't include work, of biological functions, eating, and those sorts of things throughout your day. So you have probably 2 hours, probably closer to 3 or 4. If you have any form of social life, it's going to increase, things like that. You also need to balance that depending on the greatness factor that you want to go to. So your amount of time really, really shrinks per day. And especially when you realize this is the same time that everyone else has. Now, the question is, are they taking advantage of it? And that's what we're trying to get you to do here. And what we're trying to get our clients to do is to take advantage of that time. And so that is the next step, is figuring out how you're going to allocate your time, which we will cover in a different video. And then from there, actually begin your action plan. You might need to develop some accountability systems and those sorts of things, but this is something that I think a lot of people have. The reason I call it the GOAT dissolution effect is because people are disillusioned about what it means to be great. And I think that social media is a huge part of this. When people look at others on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and they see the lavish lifestyle and they see it everywhere, it seems like everyone has it. But it's really just that it's similar percentage of people that have it as it's always been. But now it's just more in your face. And so like they think that these people are like goats of these things, or goats of life, or those sorts of things. And they're not. They are usually really great at one thing, maybe two. Again, you could be really great at two, but you can't be the goat of two. Sort of like the project management triangle, right? You got cost, quality, fast, right? You can only have 2 out of 3. That's how being a goat is. You can only have one. Pick one. So here's your walking away information here. So first, ask yourself, your friends, your family, and colleagues some hard questions. Not even hard questions, just more open-ended questions. What is unique about you? What do they continually come to you for? You do some introspection as to what the trend is that people ask you for advice on, or things that they have you do because you do them better than everybody else. Even ask yourself what it is that you think that you are good at. Now, there's a reason I have avoided the word passion in, I believe, all of this conversation, because passions are built, they're not found. So please don't mistake the exercise I'm having you do to figure out what you're passionate about. Because passion comes with time. Long story short, maybe this will be a different video. Let me know if you want it, but let's condense it into 10 seconds, which is, you're going to start something new. You're going to be bad at it. You have to be okay with being bad at it. So you're going to be good at it. Once you start to do the good thing or get good results, then now you like it more and more. Then that good results gets you something more tangible, whether that be money, whether that be networking, something that's benefiting your life in some way. Now you start to be really passionate about it, right? Because you push past the bad, you eventually got good, you then got return, and now you just continue to rinse and repeat. That's really what satisfaction and passion is it's just a continuum of that cycle and spectrum. It's not going to be something that's really found. It's going to be something that's built. So you've asked those hard questions. Now you start to write them down, create a map. Again, if you do some personality tests, Not sponsored or connected to this in any way, but I am a big fan of Understand Myself, which is actually a Big Five personality test. And Big Five personality test has most recently been, they did a meta-analysis in 2022, I believe it was, where it is the highest correlation personality test to life outcome. Still not saying it's like the greatest corollary ever, but it is really good for understanding yourself. If you have a spouse, they actually have a relationship one where they link them together. That's also pretty cool and a great function. But this will shed a lot of light. And it is, like I said, the most related personality test to life outcome. So that could be something that can help as well. And this is where you just really start to document and dig deep and narrow down that scope. And then you line it out. And you simply say, hey, here's my 3 things. Here's my 5 things. And if you want an example of me, right, I have selected very few things in my life. I'm trying to be a good professional. I'm trying to be the best person that I can be from a soft skills perspective in terms of I want to help other people. I want to move the world forward. I want to affect as many people positively as I can. And that is really what being a good person for me means. Upholding morality and truth, those sorts of things. So I do a lot of introspective work. Being a good husband, hopefully soon to be a good father. And then also being a great entrepreneur. Like those are my 5s. And you can kind of even combine entrepreneur and professional. So those are my 5 things. That is where all of my time goes, all day, every day. And obviously within each of those things, there's a lot of subsets and sub skills and things like that that you have to develop. So you don't have to pick and choose what it is that's going to be your highest leverage to get you to the next step. But that is the point in all of this, is to narrow the scope, because even once you narrow the scope to those 3 or 5 things, you then have to figure out how to accomplish the sub skills or the sub skills, and how you're going to have the time to do that, where your source is going to be, these sorts of things. So your journey isn't done just because you simply narrowed it down to the amount of activities that you're going to do or the amount of things in your life that you're going to choose to be great at. And some people are going to look at my list of 5 and go, that seems boring. And to some it is. And that's why I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you how to get past this GOAT dissolution. Because if you end up having 10 things, great. If you have 20 things, great. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to this, but you do need to be realistic about your ceiling of capability versus the amount of things that you are trying to invest time into. That is just something that is unavoidable and unescapable. It's like trying to mix oil and water. It is a dichotomy that you have to understand, you have to realize, and you have to accept. You are not superhuman. You need to sleep. You need to function. You will need to do some amount of breaks. Probably not the degree that some people will tell you that you need to for work-life balance or professional or personal growth balance and those sorts of things. I'm actually covering that in the next video. I would like to see people push more of their time investment into what they want. And so with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, comment. As a new channel, I will always try and respond to your comments and things like that. And I'd love to know tips, tricks, things that you'd like to hear me talk about, whatever it might be. Please do let me know. I want to build a community of like-minded people that whatever our goals are, really at its root, we're all just shooting for excellence in whatever that is. This community and myself will never be here to tell you what, but hopefully together we can all continue to expand on the how and enact the how for all of us to achieve our dreams. So with that, thank you, and until next time.